Now, who's used a drill press before? Most of you. Who's used a hand drill before? I think most everybody has a hand drill. Okay, so with the drill press, all the other safety things apply, like I said before. So we need safety glasses. Okay, need to make sure. Now, it's more important on this machine that we don't have any baggy clothes or long hair, because this has exposed rotating parts. And if you have nice, beautiful long hair and it gets caught in this, you're gonna lose all that beautiful hair. So, if you know what being scalped is, if you have a chunk of hair get caught in this, it's just gonna rip it out and you're gonna have a bald patch. So that's not good fun. Okay. Yeah, so there was one video I saw where they had that corn on the cob on a hand drill. She's trying to eat it, and then hair got caught in, ripped it all out. Not a good idea. Drills and your face don't go together. The only time a drill should ever be near your face is at the dentist, and those are little drills. Okay. Back to this. Now, whenever you want to drill a hole, I need to do something to this first. So we need to mark it. So first I'm just gonna put a little X on here. Okay, I'm gonna do 2. Okay. Now, once you mark it, what you also need to do is you need one of these. What's this? Punch, not quite. A scriber. Okay, a scriber or an awl. So with a scribe, what you want to do is you want to poke a hole where you're going to drill your hole. Okay. Now, the reason why this is important, more so with harder materials like say like oak, or if you're doing things like with metal, if you try to drill into this without having a little guide hole, what's going to happen is your drill bit, as it touches your piece of wood, it could potentially wander. And if it's moving and you put downward pressure, it's going to potentially bend or snap your drill bit. Okay? And sometimes students do break drill bits, more so on hand drills, one of the little tiny ones, but you need to make sure you're careful of that. Okay? Now, with this, should I just hold this with my hands and drill this? You need to make sure you clamp it, okay? So with this drill, the one thing I like about it, even though it's an older drill, is I can hold this down and it has a little lever where I can pull it down like this and it'll kind of lock itself in place. So usually it requires 2 people like with the other ones, but once I've locked this down, I want to take a clamp, so like this F clamp here. I prefer these ones over any other ones because they have a bigger range, so I can actually clamp farther into this table, whereas other ones I can't. Okay. So then we can clamp this in place. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now, Kaylee, was this you or your sister who hit themselves? Was this you? It was you. It was. So last year, Kaylee forgot to tighten this down nice and tight. And if you don't clamp this tightly and it's not held securely, it could potentially spin around. And this did happen to her. It spun around and it smashed her in the arm and she got a bruise from it. So it can happen, okay? So you need to be careful there. Now, if you have something longer, like this, try to have the long end facing out this way, because if it does spin, it could hit this post here and prevent it from spinning around, okay? Because if it's longer and you have it facing out this way, it could like come and smash you in like the ribs or something, and that's not gonna be fun. Or for any of you really short people out there, maybe in the face. So yeah, so be careful of that. So it's secure, it's not going anywhere, so we could drill this. Now, can someone turn the power on for me? Can someone go over there quickly, please and thank you. Okay. Yeah, go Natalia. So drills and drill bits come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, okay? So for example, with my grade 8s, we use these ones a lot for cutting out little wheels for their cars. And we got Forstner bits like this, and just plain old spiral drill bits. Now, with using the drill press, I can adjust the speeds for different bits. Doesn't matter how fast or slow I'm going when I'm using a drill bit. Like if I want to use a really big drill bit like this, should I go fast or slow? Slow, okay? Because these big teeth, if I'm going really fast, it's gonna wanna grab and rip, and that could potentially spin this out of control, okay? So if you ever have something really big like this, go really slow, And if I have something smaller like this, or even smaller than this, I can crank up the speed and go much faster, okay? But right now, I have this set at a somewhat slower speed, but we can do most of what we need to do with the speed it's already set at, okay? Now, when we're ready to drill, I need to make sure there's some kind of board underneath acting as a backing board, okay? Usually like pieces of plywood, because they act as support, because the wood fibers, as you're drilling through, are gonna wanna burst out the other side. If this isn't there, it's gonna create a really ugly looking hole on the other side, okay? Which I'll show you an example of in a second. So once we're ready, we can drill our hole. So as we're drilling, you wanna do it little bits at a time, because that rubbing of the metal on the wood is gonna create friction. And if you just try to hog it all out in one go, it's gonna put a lot of heat on this, and in some cases it could snap the bit. So you wanna kinda go up and down a little bit at a time, okay? So when we're ready, you can drill through this, just like a little bit at a time. And then once you get to the end, you're either gonna hear it break through, or you might even feel it break through, okay? Or if your backing board is made of a different type of wood, sometimes you'll see wood chips of a different color, and then you know you've gone through. Okay? Fine. I think we've gone through. Now, you unclamp this, and we have a nice, clean hole. Has a tiny bit of tear out on this side, not a whole lot, and it looks pretty good. Okay. If you ever want to make repeated holes and you want to drill more, all these little shavings, you need to get out of the way. So I'm just going to put them down here. I'll sweep them up later. Because if I try to drill on this with shavings on it, it's going to create an uneven surface, and your hole is not going to be perfectly straight the way you want it. Okay, so make sure you clean it up. So let's see, are any of these really ugly looking? There we go. Now, see this piece? Does that look nice? No. So I'm gonna drill a second hole using this spot here. Actually, now, when the table has a big gap between your piece and the drill bit, I can adjust the table. It's a little bit different on all of them, but with this one, I can loosen this, and then I want to wiggle it, and it creates an ugly squeaky sound. Bring it up a bit. Then we can tighten this back up, and we're gonna drill another hole. Yeah. Now, with this one, I'm gonna purposely push a little bit harder at the end, and I want you to listen, okay? Tell me if you hear anything. Fine. Hear anything? If you have good hearing, you probably heard some ugly breaking sounds. It's like celery. All right, so how does it look from this side? Looks pretty good. How does it look from this side? Looks pretty not so nice. Okay, so if you don't have a proper backing board, this is what's gonna happen to your nice project. Okay, and that's usually the one thing students hate most, is when they ruin a good project over something easy as putting a backing board on something where I would have to redo this, or you'd have lots of sanding ahead of you. And sanding is not good. Okay. Now, when you're drilling on this drill press in particular, I can adjust this screw here to different spots. So if I want to make a hole that's the same depth and do a bunch of them, like how many of you play crib? You know how it has tons of little holes? So say if you wanted to make a crib board and you wanted to drill it, say, that deep with a smaller drill bit, I could set this screw up so it's only going to go that far down. So I could like drill a hole, and keep drilling holes at the same depth. Okay, so that's a good thing to know. And then when you're done with your drill bits, on this one we can put them here, but I would prefer it if you put them away, Students are really bad for this. They leave drill bits all over the place and sometimes they're hard to find. And then with your drill bits, if you want to change them, we need to use this. So what's this? Key, but it's a specific key. It doesn't work on cars. It's called a chuck key. Okay, so this chuck key works on the chuck. So I'm gonna put it in this hole here, and I'm gonna turn it like this, and I can change my drill bits. Okay, and when you're changing drill bits, never leave this in, because if I turn this on, it's gonna shoot out somewhere, hit you or somebody else. So make sure you put this back over here. Okay, so I want about like this much holding on to the drill bit. Okay, and you can kind of see it looks a little bit different, so that's gonna grab it right there. And then as I tighten it, once it gets a little bit, I want to tighten all the different holes, because if I only tighten one spot, these little jaws might put more pressure on one side than the other side, which could push the drill bit over and it's not going to be straight. Okay. And then once you put the drill in, I need to make sure it's straight and secure. So turn it on. If you don't see any wobbling like this of the drill bit, then it's good. So do you see any wobbling? So we know it's good. If it wobbles, it either means it's not in properly or you have a bent drill bit. Okay. And if drill bits are bent, just give it back to me. We got lots. So don't worry about it if there's bent ones or if you accidentally break. Because if you accidentally break something and you're using it for the way it's intended, that's okay. But if you purposely break something, that's a problem. Okay. Any questions about the drill press? All right.